Welcome to Sexy Sunday, where we analyse sex scenes from films and TV shows, discuss what they tell us about the story, the characters, and more importantly, whether they're hot or not. I'm Jessica.
I'm Anouchka.
And this is Sexy Sunday.
Today we're talking about Easy, an American TV show created by Joe Swanberg that it's been airing on Netflix since 2016. It's an anthology series which follows different characters. Some characters come back, some of them don't come back. So we're not going to analyze every single episode because they don't all have sex scenes. So how many sex scenes do you think are in Easy?
I think 10?
Well, not in Easy, but in all of those episodes.
Yeah.
I counted 15.
Oh!
So there you go.
Oh, there you go indeed. Huh.
So, do you want to start with season 1, episode 2, with the two girls?
Yeah, sure.
I've only got one note, and it says, sex scene is kind of hot, but there's zero build-up.
That's true, but I think it also fits in with, like, they see each other at the
gig.
The gig and lock eyes. I do agree that maybe there is not enough flirting going on.
I think it's fine, but in that case I wish there was a bit more sex scenes. I wish we'd see them again.
Yeah.
But I do think it was a good episode. It was quite fun seeing someone like trying to change her entire personality to fit the person she's dating, because I think that's definitely something some people do.
Oh,
and it had some funny moments, like when she buys the bike helmet and she's like trying to make it look dirty so that it looks like she's always riding the bike.
And then when she gets the taxi and like it's like, oh yeah, I've just ridden my bike over here
in the snow.
Yeah. And she's like, I just saw you like coming out of the taxi.
There were definitely some good moments. I didn't feel particularly attached to any of the characters.
Yeah, because I think it like I felt like their relationship moved really quickly, but I also feel like that's kind of a common thing for lesbian relationships, or like stereotypically, I guess.
Yeah, like it's a bit of a trope in TV.
But I also liked that you saw her with body hair and it was just there, like there was no commentary around it, it was just there. I was like, that's a really nice kind of normalization on TV.
Yeah, I think Easy are quite good at that. Like they're not really making a big deal of things. They're just like kind of, this is what it is. And I think that's the thing with having so many characters, because obviously each episode is a standalone almost. I think that really allows them to like have loads of different people they can like show, which also helps without having to be, unlike Sex Education where they're trying to do that, but it's like it's one storyline, so actually you have so many characters that not one storyline, but they're all evolving in the same world. Like it's just it becomes really confusing and characters don't have enough screen time, whereas this one, because it's like each episode is about these characters and that's it, you have a bit more time. You might never see them again, but at least you've got half an hour to really explore them, which I think you get more of.
Exactly, and I did really like that there was some crossover between the characters over the episodes, because I think that's what I really like about anthology series, and like I guess short stories kind of fall into that category as well, is it's like you get a really deep snapshot look at like people, like a portion of people's lives, like you're not going deep with them and like following it, you kind of make the other bits up, but you get like a really interesting snapshot. So yeah, like the whole series I did really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you wanna do season 2 episode 3? That's the one with Carly Fiorentino playing Sally, the girl, like the escort.
Yes.
So do you know who Carly Fiorentino is?
No.
Oh, have I ever told you about Slutover?
I don't think you have.
Oh, it's like this girl, so the blonde girl, she's she's a writer in real life, and she started off as a blogger. So she's American, but she came to England I think when she was like in her early 20s or something. And she was living in a squat, and she started this blog where she was kind of just talking about her life, but it was really funny. I really 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 like her writing, and it became like this massive thing where she would talk about sex a lot, and it became like a really big blog thing. So it kind of, she got other people to write on it as well, and it became a little bit more organized. Like before it was literally just like thoughts through her brain but really written really funny. And then it became a bit more like, this person is doing a list of 5 films about this kind of sexual thing, and like she's friends with people who are like researchers and doctors and stuff, so she's always like writing interesting articles. Like I kind of liked her early work
Oh.
better in a sense, because it felt more like talking to a friend, whereas now
Yeah.
it's a bit more like an actual article where you learn things, which is also very good. But she also wrote a book that was really good. She wrote a TV show with Greg Araki that was called Now Apocalypse, which I really, really loved the part of it, but then I really didn't like another part of it. And it's like the part that I didn't really like is clearly Greg Araki's part. It's like it's basically all like millennials. One of them is a sex worker, the other one's like trying to be an actor, whatever. It's like everything I love, but then there's also like aliens.
I was gonna say, with a show that's called Apocalypse Now, or like whatever, like
Apocalypse, yeah.
yeah. I was like, that doesn't sound like a you
Yeah.
show. That sounds too sci-fi for you.
Exactly. It's like it's the one bit that like took me out of it, but a lot of it I really, really liked. So yeah, I really like this girl. Think she's really clever. Really love listening to her talk. I think she's a great example of someone who's like, yeah, made a whole career about her sexuality, and you know, talks about sex a lot, but she's like, I just hate how people are kind of looking down on people who have an interest in sex, as if it's like something really like whatever. It's like, actually, sex tells so much, as we know,
as we have a whole podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. But like sex does say a lot about people, about society, about all sorts of things. It's really political. It's really like, it's just, there's so much that goes into it. And I don't understand why people are like looking down on it. And if you're interested in it, it's like you're either really slutty in a bad way or really dumb. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think she's a really good example of someone who managed to do something really good with it, where actually she's really interesting to listen to. And if, like, I don't know, I really like her. Anyway, she's in that episode. So that was a really long introduction.
No, I appreciate it, because I think it really fits in with like her character, obviously.
Well, yeah, I think that they must have either written it for her, or I don't know how that happened, but it's basically her in a lot of ways. So yeah, that episode definitely made the sex in count go way up, because there's a lot in there.
Yes. And I like, the funniest one was the guy who had a girlfriend, or like, he's like, I don't want an emotional connection. It's like, don't kiss me, don't look at me. But then he's like wanking himself off to her.
I love that he's like, I don't want to cheat, but I'm thinking this can be like porn, but like IRL porn. And it's like, dude, this is 100% cheating. Like, this is not like watching porn, like, at all.
No, it's like, she's a real human being, and you can't just watch her and then not want to touch her, or her want to touch. Like, it's not a there's not a screen dividing you.
Exactly. I don't think his girlfriend would be like, oh, this is totally fine. It's just
yeah.
But it was really interesting. My dream is to hang out with Carly Sortino all the time in a judgment-free zone, like she calls them.
Yes.
I thought her conversation with the other girl at the start made me laugh. And also I love the other girl, like, going on the rant at the end.
Oh, that was so funny. So she was like, I'm gonna do my stand-up, and I was like, this is not stand-up. And I also really like the conversation that they have when Sally reveals that she's a sex worker. And she's like, well, how do you make sure you're safe? And she's like, well, we have like a reference system. And I was like, that's so good. Like,
yes, but surely the guy who's like, doesn't want to cheat on his girlfriend hasn't done this before. Because the way he talks about it is very much like, I'm trying this. And I'm like, who's refed him? Like, who's referenced him?
That's true.
Is this a plot hole?
Oh,
might be.
Are we untangling the entire series?
Throw
it in the bin. It's not worth watching anymore.
Yeah, it didn't ruin the show for me, but I did think like, this is interesting. Also, I feel like Sally, we see her with a few. We don't see her with anyone that she's actually like getting with for herself, like, in a way, not for work. But we see her again with like 3 different guys from work, or 4, I can't remember. And I would say she's got the same personality with all of them. Like, she acts very similar with all of them. And I wonder why they made this decision, because it could have been really interesting seeing her being very like dominant with one and really submissive with the other. And I
Oh.
felt like she was one note, not in a bad way, but she was written quite like the same. What I wonder is, was this to show us that she actually enjoys her job so much that she doesn't feel like she has to put on a personality to do it? Like, is this just her? And she's actually having sex with those people like she would be having sex even if there was no money.
Yeah, because I did really feel like with each guy she was really enjoying herself.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
it was never like an act or
No,
she's doing it because she's coerced. Like it really seemed like it was
no.
something
Yeah.
that she'd like chosen out of enjoyment. But I do agree that it could have been really interesting to like see how her doing sex work could be exploring different facets of
Mm.
herself. Like she could, because it's obviously like this is the thing with sex, it can also be an expression like us to put on different hats than we would wear in everyday life. And it would have been really interesting to see her in like a more dominating position or a more submissive one, or playing out specific role plays. But I guess it part of it was to kind of show us that like someone who enjoys sex work and it's like a different viewpoint on
Yeah.
it.
Do you want to move on to season 1, episode 6, which is the Orlando Bloom threesome? Were you able to make it through it? Is the question this time.
I was.
Yay!
I realized like it's not that he looks like my dad, because it's because okay, for the audience, I had a massive. Well, we both did, but
Yes,
I
we
had
both
like
had a massive crush on Orlando Bloom
yes
when we were younger.
when I was a teenager, when I was clearing out my teenage room, I had a whole folder, like a manila
Same.
folder, like of cut out pictures of Orlando Bloom. I was obsessed, but we both were obsessed. And then when I tried to watch it the first time, I think it's just that him in profile and like the way he kind of holds himself and talks sort of reminded me of my dad. But anyway, I had forgotten as I texted you that about his like
Sun tattoo.
it's not his sun tattoo, but the one that's on his like pubic bone. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that you have that because
Yeah.
of my teenage stalking tendencies."
Oh yeah. My folder was full of photos of this tattoo. I think my folder was like 90% shirtless photos of Orlando Bloom. Uh, but even yesterday when I was watching the episode again, I was like, I can't believe we get to see Will Turner from Pirates of Caribbean having sex. This is so much fun.
I know.
What a time to be alive.
Honestly, and to see his butt in like full view, I was like, "Ah, yes, thank you." And like he looks like he's really enjoying himself as
He is,
well.
oh, he is loving life. He's having the time of his life in this episode. Like
Yes.
100%, you can tell.
Yes. And they all are, and it's
They all
really
are.
fun.
Yeah, well, the episode is titled Utopia, which obviously is an appropriate name for it. And I think
Hmm.
the entire time, the first time I watched it, I was just waiting for something to go wrong. Like,
Hmm.
I was feeling so stressed, I almost didn't enjoy it. I had to watch it again. I had to. Because,
With the knowledge that everything was okay, so you can be
exactly.
like, I can relax and enjoy this now.
Exactly, because every time the baby starts crying and they have to go and like one of them goes to put her back to sleep and the
Mm,
other two carry on kissing and stuff, I was like, someone's gonna come back down and not be happy with this situation and the evolution of it. But everyone
yeah.
was fine all the time. This is completely, as they call it, utopic. And I don't think it's very realistic that it would be so drama free. Um, I think it'd be,
No.
especially, okay, why would you pick a friend, first of all, to be the third person?
Also, someone who you see on the regular with your, like, you take them to a baby
Child. Yeah.
class. Like, I think there's too much crossover for awkwardness.
Yeah.
And I think, like, no matter what, with a friend, it's like a line that you wouldn't want to cross unless, I don't know, unless that you were all single.
Yeah. Yeah. That just feels like a bad idea.
It does. And even though they seem, because they also seem to be like doing well considering there's no like conversation between them of like what's good and what's not.
Yeah.
I like throughout the
Yeah,
series.
the entire conversation they have is just like, Are we gonna do this? Yes. Should we do this? Yes. We love each other. This is a safe space. We're very loving. We love each other. This is great. Like, honestly, if I was the third girl, I would have been so spooked out. They're so intense.
Yeah. Yeah, because it just seems like everything's a bit too perfect.
Yeah.
And like I did find it kind of funny though when like he's left alone with the other girl and they're like not sure of whether they should kiss or do anything or what, and he just ends up giving her a sports massage.
I know.
But then
And his wife's like, yeah, she can go to a chiropractor. Like, let's go back to what we're here for.
yeah, but then when the wife is alone with her, it's like then they can kiss. It's like a really interesting like.
But that's the thing, like the wife clearly didn't give a shit because she says to them when she goes, like she's like, you guys carry on, and she's pissed off that they haven't carried on. Like I just love the wife. She's so fucking chilled. She's having a great time as well. They're all having a great time. I have a very serious question.
Oh yes, hit me. I'll put my serious face on.
Please do. When guys wear grey jogging bottoms, do they know that we can see their dick? And is that why they do it? It's a very serious question. Is that the whole appeal? Is that why they wear them?
Honestly, if I see, especially if I see like a guy just walking with it, it's really difficult. It's really difficult not to just like let your eye drift. But if someone is running in jogging bottoms, I'm like, do you know that your dick is flapping about and everyone can fucking see that?
Yeah.
PSA to all guys out there.
Yeah.
Do you know?
If you don't know, now you do. There's really something, any jogging bottom really, but the grey ones, it's just like in your face.
It
like,
really is.
Even through the screen, it's like Orlando Bloom, there's no more secret between us. I mean, there wasn't any left after him paddling with Katy Perry anyway, but...
That's so true. I mean, honestly, I swear they must know.
They have to. I don't see, unless they've never looked at themselves in the mirror. I absolutely love when they're deciding to have a threesome and they're creating a profile together.
Yes.
And they're taking all the photos. It is so much fun. And I just think the whole time the married couple has a conversation about the threesome, they are like... just such a like they're having so much fun with it and they're laughing so much, and it was really 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 fun to watch.
It was, and I think because obviously like it's an anthology, so you're just seeing a snapshot, so it's like it would have been interesting to see the aftermath and actually see if they would have survived
if it actually is that utopic or not.
Exactly, because I'm like I feel like if you were to have a threesome as a married couple, you'd have to have such like non-jealousy, or at least like really good communication around jealousy.
Yeah, but they do seem like they do. And also his wife's very like, she's quite confident. She's not gonna let anything get in the way, like insecurities wise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And they do seem to be on the same level, so...
Like, I feel like she knew what she was doing, not going for someone who was, like, way hotter than her.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Because, yeah, that would be the downfall in a threesome if you chose someone who was hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the secret to the...
Yeah, maybe that is. I think, yeah, you want someone that's hot enough that you're attracted to them, but not so hot that you feel shit next to them.
Exactly.
Some nice the sweet spot. I think that whole episode is like, it's basically just one long sex scene. There's just not much to analyze from it, because apart from the fact that they're really high on life and they're all having the best time ever, it's not like there's much we can, because we don't know their characters really. It's quite difficult to analyze what it says about them, but it is like a very long sex scene because it keeps on getting interrupted. But it lasts like half of the episode is just them having sex. Like it's genuinely porn. Like it's really 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 long.
That's so true. But unlike a lot of the sex scenes that we've seen that have been long, it didn't feel long.
No.
And I wonder if it was because it kept getting interrupted,
Probably.
so you kept having like different levels of it.
Probably. Yeah, they did a really good job because it's not a linear sex scene. It's very long, but you kind of like pick it up at different times almost.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it's dragging. And also it really helps that everyone's quite hot.
And Orlando Bloom, isn't it?
Maybe the secret to sex scenes being bearable is just put Orlando Bloom in them. But I know like the whole sex scene is quite hot. Like there's not really any scenes that I don't find hot,
Mm.
but nothing in the entire episode turns me on quite as much as Orlando Bloom just calling the babysitter love. I was like, oh my god. This is I still feel like I'm not living in England yet. When I hear someone say love, I'm just like going back to like the first few times I came to England and I was like, oh my god, everyone who calls me love is just like suddenly attractive. Like it's just the best.
Why do you think that is? Just like the kindness of the word, or
I don't know. It just sounds so good. It's such a dream to my French ears. I love it. It's not about the fact that it's nice. It is nice, but it's
mm.
not that. It's like there's something. I mean, obviously, yeah, when it's like the 55-year-old like handyman who calls me love, I'm not like, oh my god, this is so hot. But I think it's paired with Orlando Bloom, it really worked for me. But I do think that that's always something that I thought was really hot when someone attractive or mildly attractive calls me love. It always bumps them up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because I'm French, it's exotic. Uh,
And with Orlando Bloom, it's like the trifecta.
uh-huh. If only he had a northern accent. But it still works. It's still really hot. So are we meant to think that they're not having full on sex with the third girl? Because they're having sex while she's like calming the baby, which by the way, that's the only thing that like put me off a bit. Is like, why do we have to listen to her sing to the baby while they're having like really good sex?
Yeah, I was
I
like, surely that having that in the background is kind of weird.
Yeah, I get what they were going for, but I'm like, you've lost me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but nothing Orlando Bloom can't save. Uh, but yeah, like they kind of like they have sex and then she goes back and they have sex with her, or are we meant to
No,
think that that's the end of it?
I think we're meant to believe that that's kind of the end of it because then, well, obviously we don't see like afterwards, but then she's leaving. But I think I think it makes sense for their characters that they finish together because,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, they are like the couple.
Yeah.
And why don't we see them in more episodes?
I
They're
know, I know. I really like, and I feel like his chemistry with his wife. I'm gonna find her name.
It's
Okay,
such good chemistry.
I don't think I can pronounce her name. Mailing Akerman. I'm probably not saying this right, but she's so good, and she's the girl who's having the threesome in Entourage as well, because she's the threesome girl. She's also
That's,
in The Proposal with
uh,
Ryan Reynolds and Sandra
and
Bullock,
have a
and
threesome.
she's not having a threesome in that, unfortunately. Very disappointing. So there you go. Do you want to move on to Andy and Kyle?
Yes.
So we're reviewing all the episodes with Andy and Kyle.
Yeah, which is quite a few.
It is quite a few. Yeah, they're probably the most recurring characters.
Mm.
But I think they did a really good job with their storyline.
I think so too. Like, firstly, I really appreciated in the first episode that we see them together that when he's caught watching porn, which, side note, on a Netflix like thing where you can just find porn, not believable, not realistic.
No.
But I really liked with that scene that she didn't come downstairs and get really angry at him.
Yeah.
And instead was like making a joke out of it and like kind of making light of it. I was like, this is actually really refreshing because you usually have like the woman getting really angry, being like, how dare you? You're cheating in our relationship. And like, it kind of showed the comfort that they have around each other, which I liked. And I also found it really funny when they were role playing. He needed like a whole backstory. He was like,
Yes.
I was like, I feel that so much.
I wrote that as well, and that really reminded me of in Girls, because that guy in Kyle is an actor or like writes screenplays, like he works in theater. And then in Girls, when Hannah role plays with Adam and she's like suddenly changing the story, and Adam's like, well, this doesn't work, and obviously Adam's an actor and he does theater. And I love that this is like what they always go for. It's like all these theater people trying to, like, their girlfriends are trying to role play with them, but they're like, no, but what is the story though? We need to stick to a story. I'm a builder. Why am I fixing your sink?
Yeah. But I think it really does, like, that first episode that we see them, it really does show that kind of disconnect of their long-term relationship, that they aren't quite able to make it work together no matter how hard they try. And like even when they do have sex, it doesn't seem to be like a way that they're connecting or having fun. It's just like they've had all this build up, they should, because they need to have sex to prove that their relationship is still strong, rather than like actually wanting each other. Like I never feel like they have this desire for each other throughout any of the episodes that we see them in.
No, I agree completely. And I really wonder, why does Andy keep on having sex from behind if she always looks so miserable after? Because she does
Mm,
it with him, and then she's like laying on the bed, half naked, looking super down. And then that
yeah.
also happens with the guy she picks up from the bar.
But I think with the guy with it picking up from the bar, I think what's really interesting is you see like the excitement of it, of like
Mm,
all the build up and all of that. And then I think when he's doing her from behind, she's grappling with the reality of
yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely.
But I think it's just like maybe she's just completely disconnected from sex in general, and it's her way of kind of being the object. Like she doesn't really seem to be like an active participant, except with, I want to say, Ryan.
Well done, Jess.
Oh, I remember the character's name right.
Everyone, stop what you're doing. You need to all write it down in your diaries. This has finally
Yes.
happened.
Don't hold your breath, folks. No, I could say it wrong. Like if they're
Yeah,
gonna
it's not.
later.
You're gonna call him Brian next time we talk about him.
Yes. Exactly. But yeah, even with like I feel like if we saw like a full sex scene with Ryan, it would be different.
Yeah,
But I
definitely.
think it's when she's kind of disconnected from sex itself, and it's more of her to like act out a role that she's feels like she's meant to play.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
completely agree. I completely agree. She seems really disconnected from everything, and I think that's kind of where it leads to in the end, like with Ryan, where she
mm,
says like she kind of built up this fantasy of who he was and how much she wanted him because she fancies him so much for like a couple of episodes, and then
yeah.
suddenly it's like he wants to be with her, and she's like, yeah, I don't want that at all because I think it's such a thing, and it's so easy to get trapped into it where
Mm,
you're kind of like it's just the grass is always greener kind of thing, where it's just you
yeah.
see this and you build someone up in your mind, and that happens. I'm sure it happens a lot when for people who are in relationships where it's like things have gotten into a bit of a rut or whatever. But it definitely happens to single people as well. Like you think you fancy someone so much because you like
Yeah.
build up this character in your mind that's not actually reality. And when you get to really know the person, you're like, yeah, I don't actually fancy you at all. Like, that's not what it is. Except when you're in a relationship, if you actually lead, like, follow this instead of just being like, this is a fleeting thought and it's fine to find people attractive, but it doesn't mean
Mm,
anything. Like, if you're like Andy is, like, let's open our relationship. I actually want to have sex with the people. The moment where you realize you don't actually fancy any of them, you're kind of like it's probably quite brutal. Like she's really not feeling well at the end because I guess you're just thinking like what am I doing with my like it's not what it was what I thought it was going to be.
yeah, exactly. And I think again, why like they don't set fucking boundaries. They don't
Yeah,
talk about it. I'm like, you guys set yourselves up for failure
yeah,
because
definitely.
in order for you to have like a genuine open marriage or open relationship or anything, you do have to set ground rules. Like, are you gonna have like full on relationships? Like Kyle falling in love with
Amy.
Annie? Oh,
Amy.
so close.
So close.
See, told you not to hold your breath. Um, um, yeah, him having like a relationship with Amy and like or falling in love with her,
When they said I
and
love you to
also
each other, I was like, this is not, surely this is not okay. This has not been agreed upon.
yeah, because I'm like, is it going to be just like casual sex, or are you going to embark on genuine, intimate relationships with people? Like, what is that going to look like? What are you going to disclose to each other? What's your like, all right, this is too much. This isn't for me. Like, no wonder it gets fucked up
Well,
because
yeah,
you're
and
not
like
talking.
exactly. And like Andy going after Ryan, who's like a friend of both
Mm-mm.
of them, and who's,
Yeah.
you know, again, that's just messy. Like, it's like they should have agreed beforehand. Like, and to be honest, Kyle gets with Amy from the start, and it's like it's someone he works with. It's like it's not just a random person. Because at
Right?
first she just has sex with like randos in bars, but yeah, there's a massive difference between having sex with people you're never gonna see again and having
Hmm.
sex with people you see every day. When you're in a well, when you're in any kind of situation, but definitely when you're in an open relationship, it's like I'm sure the other person feels differently about those two scenarios.
Definitely. And just feels like it's a recipe for disaster if it's someone you're working closely with and seeing on a regular basis that you're also like have this friend relationship with.
Mm,
Like they should have set some clear ground rules. Um because yeah, it obviously goes to shit.
yeah.
Um and I did like with Kyle when he does go through the like breakup, I guess, with Amy, and they did a really good job of showing him kind of having that mindless sex and it just not being enough for him
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
because
Kyle is a
the
relationship guy. Like from the
yeah.
moment they open their marriage, it's obvious that he's basically creating a whole new relationship with someone else. He's
Hmm.
not looking after like he's not after just sex.
Yeah, and I think Andy just can't admit to herself that she's not in love with Kyle anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's I think that's the thing. If you're gonna have like, if you're gonna open up your relationship, don't have it be like a Hail Mary to save your relationship because it won't. Have it be like
No.
something that you both want to explore and are comfortable with clear ground rules and boundaries, and like lots of conversations around jealousy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Andy just didn't want to be in this relationship anymore, but it was a bit
Hmm.
complicated for her to admit it to herself. So instead, she was like,
Yes.
"Let's do this, and I'll fix it." And it's like, and in the first episode, it's all. I mean, I don't think it ever looks like they're getting closer because of it, but they definitely the
No.
wage grows further and further apart. Like they're definitely getting further and further apart from each other as the episodes go on.
Yes.
Like it definitely gets worse.
Yeah. It definitely does. And like I think they did a really good job of like kind of showing us the disconnect from the beginning
Yeah,
and kind of because they do feel like they're more really close friends
yeah.
than that they have a really strong friendship and they've obviously like, known each other a really long time.
But I think it's really interesting because she always says like she didn't want to have sex with him anymore, but the amount of times where we see her trying to have sex with him in various
Mm,
episodes, like she's always like she just seems to always be trying to have sex with him, and he seems to be the one who's not going for it.
that's very true. I wonder why that is. I feel like it's maybe that's her way of being like, well, the relationship's fine if we're having sex.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought it was a really interesting, and also I like seeing how Andy's hair changes, like from the when they open their relationship, she lets it curly, like before it's like straight, and you can
Mm,
see that she's kind of on a. I think she's just on a thing where she just wants to like. She's probably lost a bit of herself in the relationship,
mm-hmm.
and she just wants to like go back to like because I think you can tell she's got a bit of a not recklessness, but you know what I mean about her.
Yeah.
And whereas he's a bit more like, as we said, like he goes back into a relationship almost straight away. Like he's very settled. Whereas I think she's a bit more chaotic. And you can tell in the way she
Yeah.
dresses and the way she puts her hair and everything. Like it's just, it all encompasses how she feels. And in her sex scenes as well. Like even with Ryan, where it's different, like she's very, I don't know, Kyle and Amy, Kyle in general, he never has sex with anyone as if he's like dying to do it. Like it's never like, oh my god, I need to do this right now. Like it's always very nice. Whereas I think Andy,
Yeah, that's
with Ryan, she's super like eager, and with the other guys, like even when you can tell this is not
mhm.
necessarily exactly what she wants to be doing, or at least like not in that particular way. Like it's not, it's what she convinces herself she wants or whatever. But she's still
Mhm.
like, I don't know. You can tell that she's still enjoying the situation.
Yes. Yeah.
She's just a lot more sexual than he is.
Yeah, because it's also her who suggests the role play
Yeah.
and it's him he's like, I'll go along with it. But he does seem like he's like I'm in a like a safe relationship. Like this makes sense. Whereas she, yeah, she definitely has that more adventurous streak about her.
Yeah.
which is interesting that she doesn't really get to explore it in the way that she'd hoped
Yeah.
in the open relationship.
But
open
yeah, because she
marriage.
doesn't seem really satisfied with any of it. She's not really satisfied
No.
with one night stands. She's not really she was satisfied with like having this thing with Ryan where it was like he was still unattainable because he had a wife and he was going back to LA, and then as soon as that stopped being a fantasy, she wasn't interested anymore. Like I don't think she actually wanted any of this. I think she wanted to like feel excited about life again, but it's like it's all fantasies.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
It's very interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah, I really like those episodes.
Me too. I thought it was a really, like, all the episodes were just like a really interesting exploration of relationships in a way that's not like the Hollywoodified. Like, the conversations also felt real.
Yeah.
Like, I think the dialogue was written really well as
Yeah,
well.
they've got a very natural dialogue vibe. So how hot is this show? 1 to 10?
Ooh, like a 7. I think most of those are from Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think this episode really puts it up. Because none of the episodes with Andy and Kyle, like maybe Andy when she gets with the guy from the bar, that was kind of hot. And especially
Yeah.
I like them in the elevator. Like that nothing's happening and it's super short, but it's like
Mm.
that really tense moment where you know you're gonna get together, but you haven't yet. And it's like you know it's the
Yes.
last minute before it happens. And I think they captured that even though it literally was like a 3 second shot. I think that was hot, but not as hot as Orlando Bloom's threesome at all. What are we gonna talk about next time?
So we're going to do, because there are some episodes of Dave Franco in Easy, but we don't see him in a sex scene, we've decided to do Dave Franco versus James Franco.
Which is very healthy of us.
So healthy, pitting one sibling against the other.
in their sexiness and sex scenes.
Exactly. It's like, who's sexier and why?
Yeah, let's intellectualize it. We'll just analyze both brothers' sex scenes and come up with a very, very intellectual analysis and description of what makes it horror.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we're here for, isn't it?
Yeah, giving the people what they need. Yeah, I'm excited. So I think we're just gonna like get sex scenes from random films with both of them, and we're just going to analyze them. And I think if they ever, not that Dave Franco or James Franco would ever hear of this podcast, but if they do, they'll probably want to die, being like, "Why am I in the sex scene podcast with my brother? Like, this is just so wrong." But that's what we're. That's what
exactly.
we do.
And then James Franco will probably be a bit butthurt that we're like, we prefer Dave Franco.
Look, we just think Dave is hotter. It's not our fault. Like, no offense to James Franco.
Sorry, not sorry.
He's definitely got loads of girls who fancy him too, so I'm sure he'll be fine. But Dave Franco, well, what a little dreamboat, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It'll be an interesting one.
It will be.
So, yeah,
Right.
excited. All right, see you next time.
See you next time.
We just wanted to thank Close Up Culture for hosting us, and thank you guys for listening.
If you want to leave us a 5-star review, we'd really, really appreciate it. You can also follow Close Up Culture on Instagram at closeupculture, all one word. And you can email us at sexysundaypodcast@gmail.com to let us know your favourite episodes or your favourite sex scenes.
Bye.
Bye!